Welcome back to Mindcast with Dee. I'm Dee, and today we're diving into a topic that hits way too close to home for so many of us. Self-sabotage. You know that feeling when you have a big goal, like starting a new career, losing weight, or finally having that tough conversation, but somehow you end up getting in your own way?
I'm Will, and if that sounds familiar, trust me, you're not alone. Today's episode is all about understanding why we self-sabotage, and more importantly, how to stop it. Over the next 45 minutes or so, we're going to break this down, share some stories, explain the psychology behind it, and give you 5 practical, actionable tips you can start using today.
Exactly. By the end of this episode, our goal is that you'll have a clear understanding of what's happening inside your mind and a roadmap for changing those patterns. So if you've ever found yourself thinking, "This is exactly what I'm going through," keep listening because we've got you covered.
Let's start with the hook. Self-sabotage often feels like a mystery, right? One moment you're pumped to make a change, and the next, you're binge-watching a show, scrolling endlessly on your phone, or avoiding a task that could really move your life forward.
It's almost like your brain is plotting against you. And here's the kicker. It's not actually being mean. It's trying to protect you in ways that don't really make sense anymore.
So, if you've ever wondered why you keep messing it up even when you know better, stick around. We're going to unpack the why, show you the psychological trick your brain is playing, and give you 5 concrete strategies to break the cycle.
All right, picture this. A listener named Sarah wrote to us recently. She's a 32-year-old graphic designer who's always dreamed of starting her own design studio. She's talented, motivated, and even saved up money to get started. But every time she's about to take the leap, she procrastinates. She'll spend hours reorganizing her files, perfecting her portfolio, or even cleaning her apartment. Anything to avoid the actual step of launching her business.
Oh, wow, that hits home. I think we've all been there. And the thing is, Sarah knows she's capable, but there's this invisible force that stops her. She describes it as a mix of fear, doubt, and a strange kind of comfort in staying in her safe zone, even when it's frustrating.
Exactly. And that story is relatable because self-sabotage isn't about laziness. It's about your mind trying to protect you from something it perceives as risky, even when the risk is exactly what you need to grow.
Right, so the first step in breaking the pattern is understanding the psychological principle behind it. And once you get that, you can start taking back control.
Here's the psychology behind self-sabotage in simple terms. Your brain is wired to avoid pain and seek comfort. This is called the negativity bias. It prioritizes potential threats over potential gains. So even if your new career or project is exciting, your brain focuses on what could go wrong first.
Right, so the first step in breaking the pattern is understanding the psychological principle behind it. And once you get that, you can start taking back control.
And don't forget the role of habit loops. Every time you procrastinate or avoid a task, your brain releases a tiny reward relief from stress. Over time, this pattern reinforces itself, creating a cycle that's tough to break.
So the takeaway here is, self-sabotage isn't about being weak or flawed. It's about outdated survival mechanisms meeting modern challenges. Once you see it that way, it becomes a lot less shameful and a lot more solvable.
Let's bring this to life with a few real-life examples. Maybe you've delayed applying for a job you're perfectly qualified for because you want to make your resume perfect first. Or perhaps you start a diet or exercise plan, only to binge the next day because the first step felt too uncomfortable.
Or maybe you've been in relationships where you keep picking partners who aren't good for you. Even though you consciously want something better, your past experiences and fear of change steer you toward familiar but unhealthy choices.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be big, life-changing events. Self-sabotage shows up in tiny, consistent ways. Sleeping in instead of exercising, avoiding difficult conversations, or staying stuck in a rut professionally.
And the pattern looks different for everyone, but the underlying principle is the same. Your brain prioritizes comfort and avoidance over progress, even when you consciously know the action is beneficial.
All right, now let's get to the part you're waiting for. 5 practical tips to stop self-sabotaging your life. Tip number 1, name it when you do it. The next time you procrastinate or avoid a goal, pause and say, I'm self-sabotaging right now. Naming the behavior separates your identity from your actions and gives you power to change it.
Tip number 2, break it into micro steps. Often, self-sabotage happens because the task feels overwhelming. Instead of thinking, I need to launch a business, think, today, I'll outline my first email to potential clients. Small wins build momentum and quiet that fear-based brain.
Tip number 3, adjust your environment. Your surroundings influence your habits more than you realize. Remove distractions, set up reminders, or create a workspace that encourages focus. Even small tweaks, like putting your phone in another room, can reduce those automatic avoidance behaviors.
Tip number 4, practice self-compassion. This is huge. Every time you catch yourself self-sabotaging, respond like you would to a friend, with understanding, not judgment. Saying, it's okay, I'm learning, instead of, I can't believe I messed up again, rewires your brain to approach challenges positively.
And finally, tip number 5, visualize success and consequences. Take 5 minutes a day to imagine yourself completing the task or goal. Then also picture what happens if you don't take action. This dual perspective creates motivation by tapping both reward and loss, which our brain responds to strongly.
These 5 steps, naming it, micro steps, adjusting your environment, practicing self-compassion, and visualization, are small, actionable ways to reclaim control over self-sabotage patterns. They don't solve everything overnight, but they build momentum over time.
So, to wrap up today, self-sabotage isn't a moral failing. It's a survival mechanism in the modern world. Understanding the psychology, seeing how it shows up in your life, and taking small, consistent steps can break the cycle.
Absolutely. Remember Sarah's story. She didn't go from zero to launching a business in a day, but once she started implementing small steps and being gentle with herself, her momentum grew, and those old avoidance patterns weakened.
So if you've ever caught yourself thinking, this is exactly what I'm going through, know that you're not broken. You're human. And with awareness, practical strategies, and patience, you can finally start moving forward without getting in your own way.
Thanks for listening to Mindcast with DE. If today's episode resonated, share it with someone who might need it. And remember, every step forward, no matter how small, is progress.
Thanks for spending this time with us. Catch you in the next one.